Welcome, Justice ShriKrishna. It's a great honor and pleasure to have you with us.
So, Justice ShriKrishna, I just wanted to start by asking you. You've written, quoting, I think it was Justice Cardozo, that great tides and currents which engulf the rest of men do not turn aside their course and pass the judges by. What do you think is happening in India? The judges caught up in the currents?
Looks like that, at least going by some of the judgments, which, in my own personal opinion, are driven by the popular current thinking instead of strict jurisprudential reasoning. I would put the Shabarimala judgment, for example. Looking at it, fine. You elevate it to a situation of Article 14, you elevate it to a situation of fundamental rights, human rights, forgetting that religion is a matter of faith, and in matters of faith, what exactly is an acceptable, reasonable behavior of inside the religion or the religious practice is not for somebody outside the religion to talk about. It's for the believer to decide what is an inherent practice. Now the Supreme Court did a quantum jump and said, oh, everywhere else in the world it is like this, therefore it should be like this. That, I think, is playing to the gallery, in my honest opinion.
One could argue that, in fact, that communitarian basis of the criticism of the judgment, Supreme Court judgment, is equally popular. So, in the sense that we are seeing a contest between forms of populism.
True, but can't forget that the individual's right to practice his or her own religion is also guaranteed. So, how do you say that whether I take, for example, a religion might say, I come into the place of worship with my shoes on. Another religion says, never wear your shoes in. Now, how is the court going to decide this, whether it's an essential part of my religion or not? It is to be decided by the person. Yes, I do grant you that if it's really a question that, like, supposing somebody says, my religion allows me to chop off the heads of everybody, I can understand at that level you can interfere. But I don't understand how you interfere in matters that purely religious.
So, where do you think we can draw the line? Because the question has always arisen right from the time of the Shah Bano case, where the Supreme Court went into the Islamic text to say what is essential and what is not, which invited a great deal of backlash.
Or even going all the way back to the introduction of modern law with Sati. The introduction of, as it were, liberal principles in India comes on the back of a gender and religion question.
Yes, I do grant you. Actually, if you look at it historically, Hinduism was not a congregational religious practice at all. It was individualized. Only on occasions it used to be congregational practice. Now, therefore, going to a temple was not an obligatory thing. You can be an essentially practicing Hindu without ever having visited a temple. Why? Because you do all your religious practice inside your house. In fact, you are required to do it in your house every day. Now, therefore, the only difficulty that arose in the Shabarimala case is that the Shabarimala temple itself has been acquired by the state, and the state had made some rules which in effect put the beliefs of the persons doing the puja there. And that has been struck down because it's Article 12 read with Article 14. Otherwise, I don't think... Can I ask you a simple question? We have talked about Shabarimala. We have talked about, what is that, Dargah in Bombay?
Yeah, Haji Ali.
Haji Ali Dargah. But I had occasion to visit the Dargah in Nizamuddin. I had never gone there. Last visit I had gone there. And I found that the women are still not allowed inside Dargah. So why should the Supreme Court sitting in Delhi bother about what happens in Shabarimala instead of curing that?
Or maybe, as you were saying, maybe cure neither. Because
Or leave it aside. I personally think the answer to the Shabarimala problem is to educate the people, and it automatically goes off. It's not going to come about by this kind of constitutional mandate, never.
You point to an important new division of labor that we have seen in the last 20, 30 years, which is that actually it is the courts which seems to be making the law. I mean, most recently, the abrogation of Article 377 came via the court rather than from our legislators. Now, how do you actually account for this shift?
By definition, a judge is supposed to decide post facto. I never understood how can you judge something which has not happened. Now what is happening is, what should be done for the future is for the elected representatives to decide. Now we are taking upon the role of the elected representatives as to what the normative quality of the law should be. Why? Because we think that they are incapable of doing it. We means who? The judges. Not that the public has thought of it. Otherwise they wouldn't have elected them. So ultimately these questions must be left to society to determine, and gradually as the society's conscience level increases, it will completely find its own level. Like water finding its own level. Any attempt to force the issue will have a backlash. Any attempt to force the issue will invite opprobrium against the judges.
But playing the role of devil's advocate for a minute, I was discussing this matter with a now retired Supreme Court judge who said, and I was making a very similar point to what you're making now, who said that this is all good in theory. What you're saying is all good in theory. But when you have a woman who's standing in front of you, who is facing life threats from a Khap Panchayat because she married someone outside her caste, and she comes to the court to say that please give me some relief, and has come to the Supreme Court, I will not send her away on the basis of some point about locus standi, saying that please go to the legislature and tell them to formulate a crime. I will protect her. What do you say to an
You
argument
protect her
of
by
that?
doing what? Giving her police protection for 24 hours for the rest of her life?
Yes,
Have you
maybe
solved
that's
the
a good start.
No. Have you solved the Khap Panchayat issue really? Is Khap Panchayat not operating today?